would be doing better than where everyone's just denying that this is a problem still.
Yeah, exactly. And and just back to the school thing quick, because this was like one little like thought I had on it that I'd forgotten about until just now. So do you remember the show Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And how like 9 times out of 10 people weren't any smarter than a fucking fifth grader.
Yeah.
I mean, just let that sink in, like thinking about how everybody thinks they fucking can be their own doctors and just like the idea like that you're going to be smarter than the school systems or that you know more about everything. Like just think about, are you smarter than a fifth grader? That's a 12-year-old. And like most people that went on that show were not smarter than any of those fucking fifth. Like what should be happening is what they should be teaching in school is the kids. They should teach the kids about how smart it is to wear masks. And then the kids can come out of school and teach their stupid ass fucking parents about how smart it is to wear a mask. Because apparently we need to do this shit backwards, I guess,
I mean, this has been a thing long before even COVID happened. I mean, I remember back when I was in high school, my dad would get upset that my history teacher would show us clips from The Daily Show because it was like liberal indoctrination.
Oh, right,
I mean, so it's just, this is much more of it went from an ideological problem to a legitimate public safety issue, and it's still the same shit because these people never fucking learn.
Yep. Yeah, no, and it's just I just don't understand though, like how these contradictions just like pile up one after another, and like how they even try to use them to like their advantage, but then don't get it in the other direction. So like now they've hijacked the phrase like my body, my choice, but they'll never give in on fucking abortion.
My mom is that shit. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's like, and they think they're being clever about it. Like, oh, well, my body, my choice. That's what you liberals always say. Like, go fuck yourself. That is a completely different issue.
Well, but it's like, it is, though, the same issue. It's just that they're not understanding that they're saying we get to apply it to us when we want, but it doesn't apply to other people. Like when, like they're not seeing that when they use it, they're actually proving why it should apply to everybody about everything, right? Like it could be about drugs, it could be about abortion, it could be about fucking vaccines, it could be like, if you want to say it, it should be my body, my choice. But then you have to take one more step above that, and you start there, and we say we all have these choices. And then is where education comes into play so that people make the correct and appropriate choice for the situation and trust the information enough that they go with the correct decision, which like right now, my body, my choice, the correct decision is to take a vaccine, not horse dewormer like these dumb shits are taking now.
That fucking shit.
Why you would rather take a horse dewormer than take a vaccine
for some reason.
What the fuck is wrong with people? They just want to be. They just want to be contradictory. They just want to be fucking smarter. They're just proving their stupidity without realizing it.
That is a common symptom. I don't want to just say of Republicans necessarily, but it is definitely a thing. It's a mindset that is always contrarian to what people tell you to do. Like I was arguing with a friend of mine recently. We were on the phone for like 5 hours talking about this bullshit, where I did realize in that conversation my argument about abortion that I tend to gravitate towards, where it's like, well, if you don't like abortion, don't get one, can't really translate to vaccines, where if you don't like vaccines, don't get one, because I'm like, no, you should get one though.
Well, you should, but then there's the other thing, like you gotta wear a mask if you don't. Like that's where people say, like, you can make the choice to not get a vaccine, but the choice you make by not getting a vaccine is you can't go to events. You shouldn't be able, like, that's why they're trying to make it have consequences now for people not getting vaccines, and they're getting all butthurt about it. But it comes down to like, no, you're choosing to not be an active member of society. It's your body, your choice, but that comes with consequences. Just like, okay, your body, your choice. Let's say that all drugs were legal. If you want to go do a bunch of heroin, it's going to fuck up the rest of your life. Okay, that's the consequence, but you can go ahead and do it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, your body, your choice. Like, it's well known as like that, like whether if there's an unwanted child, whether a woman has an abortion or gives it up for adoption, oftentimes there's emotional like problems that come with that, or at least like emotional hurt that comes with that, like over the years thinking about different things. Obviously I can't, like, I have no experience, but I've heard about it. And I actually do have a friend who, like, he his girlfriend, like in high school or whatever, they gave up a child, and like he thinks about it still, you know. So it's not something that people, it's not light. Well, like, it's not a light topic. Like, everything has its consequences, to just wrap up my point, you know.
That is what bothers me about the opposing argument. Not to get too heavy here, but even talking to my friend the other night, as I mentioned, it seems to be the general idea on the right that people who get abortions just take that decision so lightly, and that is never the case. I mean, like, my ex-girlfriend had an abortion, not because of me. It was like years before we met, but still, like, she would talk about it and get pretty sad. Like, it's a.
Do you really want to name drop that? I mean, not that it's like a huge. You didn't like say her name, but do you really want to, like? You really just want to put that on tape?
My ex-girlfriend that's listening. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm just making sure. You can cut I just wanted to double check. Like, I guess you could have redecided that whatever. In the edit, but it just seemed like, I don't know. Yeah. Sorry about that. And you're rolling. My bad. Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Like, I'm not going to say her name. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, she was still like kind of remorseful about it. But it was, she made the decision because it was a time in her life where she knew she couldn't support that. She, like, did not want to bring a child into this world at that time in her life. And it was a real big deal. So, like, when the only reason I even bring this up, like I was kind of talking about, is that the general, like, I'm trying to find the right way to put this, but like, the way people on the right tend to think about abortion is that people just will do it willy-nilly, and that it's just, people just use it as a form of birth control. That's not the case. That is almost never the case. Right. Like, it is a very serious decision that people make, and they think long and hard about it before they do it.
You know what's interesting? Actually, the more as you speak on that, I realize that it's actually not very different, because like the religious right, that are obviously the ones that are mostly like how the conservatives, because they used to just be the party of the rich people, how they got poor like Southerners to be behind them was by all of a sudden turning to religion in like the 90s, and was like, okay, these people feel left out because the left has like went and gotten behind like gay rights and abortion, and these religious people who used to be Democrats feel like they don't, like, their party left them, so they're like, we're going to become the religious party, and they just took all those people under their wing. You know, it was never as like they really gave a shit. They just saw an opening to like grab a whole bunch of votes, and it's been very effective. I guess it even goes back to like the 80s with some of that shit. The real point is that it's the exact same thing. They don't want people to have birth control, and they also don't want people to be able to have like abortions. It's just like, I don't want to wear a mask, and I don't want to get a vaccine. Like, there's just no convincing, like, once they decide to take like what they consider to be like a moral stance, you know, it's just a complete ignorance to like any, like, okay, you don't want people to have abortions, that's fine. Like, make sure we have sex education for kids, and like make sure that kids have access to like condoms and other types of birth control, and like Plan B is not a bad idea. Nope. Can't have any of that shit either. You know, it just needs to be abstinence. Well, that doesn't work. I don't care that abstinence doesn't work. That's what I say it is, you know, and it's just, you know, it's just this idea that we, who knows? Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, no, don't teach kids anything about safe sexual practices. Let them get pregnant at 19. Don't wear a mask and die of COVID. That's our birth
Perfect.
control now.
Yep. That's life, kid.
Birth control.
Suck it up. Suck it up, you little bastard. That's life. You better praise Jesus while you're at it too. Because otherwise,
praise Jesus while you're pregnant and dying in a fucking hospital bed.
Let's stop acting like all the shit that's happening is climate change, because clearly it's God taking his wrath out on all the fucking faggots and Jews in America. I mean, come on.
Oh, it's all cycles, man. Like every 100 years, it gets.
When there's too many faggots and Jews, dude. When there's too many faggots and Jews, God comes and he's got to do some floods and he makes the world real hot. Everybody knows about it. It's in the book of Revelations. God dang retard.
Stool with Matt Nic.
Man, sometimes like the things that are the funniest, of course, like you need to be in the situation and have the context of the people saying these things, but there are just some things that catch you so off guard that's why they're so funny. Like working at the restaurant, I have an example, and I'm not going to ramble on because obviously this is like a personal story, but
yeah, I was gonna say I don't even know if mine was worth keeping because I just really went on a long wind up to like tell just a stupid inside joke.
Just a very quick thing where like there was this waitress that worked at Morton's who was like in her mid to late 30s, and she was saying, I don't remember what prompted this, but she said, I don't think I'm a cougar because I'm not old enough, but maybe I'm like a puma. And this dude, without missing a beat, this dude Dennis behind who was working on the line, he's like, "What pussy you must avoid?" And I'm like, "Oh, holy shit!"
Damn.
Like, didn't skip a beat, man. Just like
that's almost like he'd been like just waiting for that moment to happen. That is funny as hell. Why is it that when there's an emergency going on, we call it airlifting and not just like flying? So like you hear about all these people in Afghanistan that are at the Kabul airport, right? And they're like, we're airlifting them out. But it's like on like United and Delta and like all these like airplanes that they borrowed from like major carriers. And they're just flying people out of the airport. Like I understand that it's a very dangerous situation, but I just want to know, why do we call it airlifting? Like is it just to give it like more gravity? Just to make it sound more like
I guess it's more specifying what's going on, but I'd be more fascinated by if all the people they're airlifting out started saying, "What's the deal with airline food?"
That's what you're all mad actually about the no, I just thought it was funny because it's like if you're hearing them saying that they're airlifting people out, I'm picturing like those like chopper like double fucking blade things with the open center like in Vietnam, like lifting off of the tops of buildings. Like I feel like that's airlifting. You're lifting actually, and it's like an actual like emergency. Not that there's like commercial planes at an international airport like checking people's visas and they're just flying off the fucking runway. I'm not trying to diminish the situation. I just thought everybody keeps saying airlifting, and I'm like, why do we just say air? Like they're just flying.
Yeah, they're getting flown out of there. Yeah, no, you're not wrong, because I do think of the same thing, like an airlift or like Flight for Life or something like that. I do think of like, I know this is entirely
There's a
wrong,
guy in a
but when I
ladder.
hear
There's a chopper. They're like lowering down.
well, when I hear Flight for Life, I genuinely think that, like, just in my mind, like, I picture a helicopter